pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, thanks for everybody coming. And do we have any citizens desiring to be heard? Good morning, Dan.
Morning.
Morning. And I see Don Spencer here.
Morning.
Good morning, sir. All right, so not hearing any citizens desiring to be heard. Item 4, discussion among the Board of Commissioners for possible action to request clarification written legal opinion from our District Attorney's Office concerning the statutory duties and requirements of the county budget laws. For non-budget board counties as defined in Oklahoma statutes and relevant Attorney General opinions as they relate to the planning, scheduling, duties, responsibilities, and requirements of all county officers in the Board of County Commissioners relating to the annual Logan County budget process.
Chairman, I asked that this be placed on the agenda and request that you indulge me for a few minutes while I explain what I believe the issue is here. One of the things that I can only kind of go by what I read in the statutes as far as what we say. So what I read in the statutes, or what if there's a contrary opinion that's backed up in writing by our district attorney or maybe an attorney general's opinion, then that would be different. However, I haven't seen any of that yet. One of the things that I wanted to talk about first was on the 1st of July, we were presented with a case from the Court of Civil Appeals. We were presented with a case from the Court of Civil Appeals to review concerning the lawful duties and responsibilities of the Board of County Commissioners. I assume that's why it was given to us. In that case, the Court of Civil Appeals had overturned a previous civil court ruling that came down in favor of a Board of County Commissioners versus an excise board. In that case, the Board of County Commissioners failed to adequately provide for the operational funding needs of several constitutional offices while allowing funding to several county trust funds, including a county jail trust. In this case, the excise board rightfully determined that several constitutional offices were not adequately funded. The excise board then directed the funding previously requested for the several trust funds to be used to adequately fund those previously neglected county offices. The Board of Commissioners then sued the excise board and won in a local civil court case. The excise board then appealed and won, having the original ruling in favor of the Board of Commissioners overturned, and their original actions stand as it should have all along. This final ruling is consistent with fitting and proper according to current state statutes. The excise board has limited legislative type powers of appropriation, and so are required to use those powers to ensure that only lawful and adequate funding is appropriated within the estimated funds available. It should be noted that just because the court found in favor of the excise board's corrective action and overturned an unlawful and unwise funding decision by a Board of Commissioners, this action in no way restricts or confines the lawful budget review process required of the Board of Commissioners to ensure each county officer's annual budget request is authorized by law, is adequate to meet statutory and constitutional requirements, and if in excess of adequate needs to reduce such a request, or if inadequate, to add to such an estimate so as to ensure the county certifies and submits a lawful and adequate appropriation funding request. Once the Board of Commissioners submits the county budget, financial statement, and appropriation request, It's then up to the Excise Board to determine if they agree with the Board of Commissioners' recommendations. The county budget process is a well-defined process described by our state statutes as a set of checks and balances between the Board of County Commissioners and the Excise Board. This process should never be modified or changed because of well-meaning recommendation of county officers that the Board of County Commissioners and the Excise Board not follow state statutes and laws. It seems to me that if the Board of Commissioners and the County Excise Board were able to come to agreement on following the county budget laws and defining the term adequate, it would go a long way in improving our county budget process. I recommend that we as a Board of Commissioners should at least start following county budget laws unless we have written guidance from our district attorney to the contrary. In that regard, I recommend we formally ask our district attorney to provide a written opinion and guidance in this matter and outline the possible consequences of not following county budget laws where we are able to do so. Okay, and what I've attached to this is that civil case that's underneath here. So what I'd also like to do is kind of go over some of the definitions, if you would, please. Pass them down. So the first thing I wanted to do was kind of look, there seems to be some wordsmithing over the word shall, may, and will. The word shall is the one that gets mostly misused, and down here at the bottom, this law dictionary, which is used by most legal people to give legal opinions, says the correct use of shall should confine it to the meaning of has a duty to, and use it to impose a duty on a capable actor. So anytime you see shall in a statute, it should be read as has a duty to comply. On the second page, we start with statutes, and 25-1 talks about definitions, and so it starts off, words used in any statute are to be understood in their ordinary sense, except when a contrary intention plainly appears, and except also that the words hereinafter explained are to be understood as thus explained. Basically, it just says the common meaning is what is meant in the statute, unless there's some other. 25-2, it also talks about the meanings of words and phrases, and basically it's just the common use throughout a statute. So let's we're going to jump to Title 19, that's county officers. So Title 19-180.64 Bravo talks about appropriations and payments, and this is as it relates to the salaries of county officers and their deputies, right? At the bottom there, where I've got it highlighted in bold, it is hereby made the mandatory duty of the county commissioners and excise board that such funds be appropriated and paid. Now that's a joint statement that they're supposed to do that. Right above it, it says the salary shall be paid from annual appropriations from the general fund. And that's for salaries, again, is all it talks about. It doesn't talk about, the statutes do not specifically talk about operations and maintenance funds. The statutes specifically talk about salaries, okay, because I think that's probably where most of the legal focus was at. So we jump down to 180-65, deputies and other help. The Board of Commissioners shall continue to have the authority to recommend the total amount of funds that can be used for the combined salaries in each of the county officers covered by this act. And then it goes on to say, however, the funding for such shall continue to be the responsibility of the Excise Board. Again, this is the Excise Board's responsibility with the limited legislative authority of appropriation. The Board of Commissioners request a budget and request appropriations that are legal and the county excise board reviews that and determines and has the final say on that. And I support that as well. On the next page, when we talk about duty to appropriate funds, it says that salaries established by this act shall be paid in appropriations to the general fund of the county for such purpose, and hereby made the mandatory duty of the county commissioners and excise board that such funds be appropriated and paid. Again, it's a joint effort between the two boards. I dropped in 19-215.5 where it talks about advice to county officers from the district attorney. This gives us the authority to request a ruling from the DA on this topic. 215.37E, it shall be mandatory for the county excise board to approve the appropriations request in the first section of the district attorney's estimate of needs. The reason I brought that up is because that first part of the district attorney's estimate of needs is reimbursed by the state. So the excise board doesn't have any latitude in approving that or not to have to approve it because it's going to be reimbursed by the state. That number is determined by the state district attorney board. All right. So we jump down to general powers of the commissioners to audit accounts of all officers having care, management, collection, disbursement of any money belonging to the county or appropriated for its benefit. And we jump on to, we also have the ability to investigate officers in the statute 19-340. The Board of Commissioners hereby vested with full power to inquire into and investigate the accounts, disbursements, bills, and expenses of any county, district, or township officer. And it goes on to talk about some other specifics there. All matters, and then 348, all matters pertaining to the interest of the county shall be heard by the Board of Commissioners in an open session only, which is what we're doing here today. Last page on those, 19-441, officers to account to commissioners. States all treasurers, sheriffs, clerks, constables, and other officers chargeable with money belonging to the county shall render their accounts to and settle with the county commissioners at the time required by law. This is one of the reasons that I asked that our county quote-unquote budget maker come and talk with our board about what we would require here, and maybe one day we'll get a chance to do that with him. 19-433, suit against delinquent officers. This gives the Board of Commissioners the right to make decisions and changes if a county officer refuses to provide such an accounting. And then the rest of it, failure to perform duty, that probably doesn't need to be read to us. Everybody understands that. The last one, the duty and powers of peace officers, says the sheriff, in addition to the duties pursuant to subsection A of the section, shall coordinate and administer courthouse security. So as we talk about, what the duties and responsibilities of our board is, I've put together what I think is the budget cycle as outlined in the statutes by state law, and so the budget cycle should start the first Monday of June. Each excise board is required, it says required, to provide each county officer with an estimate of probable revenues for the next year. That's not a may or can or might. In statute, that says that's a law. That's required to happen. While Oklahoma statutes require this action, they do not specify how such an estimate should be calculated. And so I would not offer to tell the excise board how they would do that. However, we do have a lady sitting here with us today that may be able to help with that. Thanks for attending. One method that could allow for a account of probable revenue could be provided by the county assessor for ad valorem tax, and the county clerk, county treasurer's office for sales, tax, interagency transfers, etc., etc. This goes on to talk about each one of these budget cycle steps. So the excise board has the first two actions, is to provide probable revenues for salaries, for county salaries. That's what the budget, well, that's what the law says. It's the reason for that is to give an estimate for salaries. And then after that, the excise board has a budget planning conference with each county officer and official, either individually or as a group, and that's to talk about the need for additional salaries for additional employees and the ability to fund that. That's what that is for. That's all that is for. After that is done, it's the responsibility of the county officers to prepare the financial report and estimate of needs and submit that to the Board of County Commissioners through the county clerk, who acts as the recording secretary for that board. Then it's the Board of County Commissioners' responsibility to review the officers' reports and prepare financial statements and estimate of needs. And then the law also says that on the 15th, by the 15th of August, we're to submit our completed financial statement and estimate of estimated budget to the excise board. At that time, the excise board has the responsibility to review, modify if needed, and approve the county budget and appropriations. After that's done, then it's the responsibility of the clerk to publish the notice in the newspaper and file. So the first 4.5 pages have to do with this budget cycle and defining it. I've also put a couple of references on the bottom of that. Reference 1 is a Attorney General's opinion that was decided in 2007. And it specifically talks about non-budget board counties and how the budget cycle is supposed to be done. In there it says the commissioners must submit an estimate of needs and financial statement for the county to the county excise board by August 17th of each year. It doesn't say may, it says will, must. Actually, it says must. The county, and then it goes on, the county excise board must meet with the principal officers prior to 1 July each year to develop a proposed budget. That's for salaries again. Goes on in paragraph 4, the excise board may also make supplemental or additional appropriations to a given political subdivision upon showing of need. That's a key feature, they're showing of need. There's a difference between need and want. While the Board of Commissioners is empowered to make recommendations on the total amount of funds that may be used for salaries within the various county officers, the approval of such funding for such officers shall continue to be the responsibility of the county excise board. Again, that's their limited powers of appropriation, and that's understood as well. At the bottom of the page, Title 19, Section 180.65, where it talks about deputies and other help, I think is the salient point here. It says the Board of Commissioners shall continue to have the authority to recommend the total amount of funds that can be used for the combined salaries of each of the county officers in this act. With that, the rest of this, the back pages starting on page 7, is the county fiscal timeline for non-Belton board counties as put together by the folks at Oklahoma State that teach this course to the excise boards and to the county commissioners. And so again, I'll go back to that first statement. In this regard, I recommend we formally ask our district attorney to provide written opinion and guidance in this area and to outline possible consequences for not following county budget law where we are able to do so. With that, I yield back.
Could I speak, because I have a doctor's appointment that I've got to go to. As far as what you just read there on the timeline that these reports are to be given to you as well as the excise board, my office is ready at any point to present these reports, but we have to wait till we get values from the tax commission. They've been late the last couple of years because of public service has taken a lot of them to court. This year they got it into us a little earlier but they sent me information that wasn't complete, so I had to wait on them once again. I finally received that, got it done. So my hands are tied on some of that until I get it from the tax commission. So they ought to be brought to, they shall or must do something on their dates.
Yes, ma'am, and I totally, I agree 100% with what you just said. And so where we are tied by the inability of the state to provide us with timely information, that causes us to bust a legal suspense date. Right, suspense date means a time frame that we're supposed to take an action by. Then that requires a legal opinion, in my mind, from the district attorney, not an opinion from a county official saying we don't have to follow it because of that.
Okay.
And I do appreciate your comments. By the way, do we now have all of our ad valorem tax information back from the state at this time?
Yes, and I
Okay.
sent it to Troy.
So we do have the ability to put our estimate and needs together.
I think so, but I also have another
If
comment,
I
and
could
that,
just clarify, it was received on Friday by me. It'll be on the agenda for
Right.
the excise board tomorrow. So it's not been reported to them until tomorrow.
okay,
As it wasn't received until Friday.
but we got it to her as soon as we got it, you know. But I have another point to make. Some of this is held off because of protest period. For instance, petroleum companies. One of our board members are here in the audience. I presented a case with a petroleum company that is really protesting their values. And I discovered while doing that one of the members is actually a petroleum attorney that's on that board member. And I think that might be a conflict of interest here. And so I want that stated. But also, until those are settled, our abstract can change, you know. In fact, it's going to. Of course, that'll be for next year before you realize that it's going to. And next year, there's going to be a lot of difference on petroleum. So I'm concerned about next year coming in on a timely manner as well, because the petroleum companies have the ability and wait till the very last minute before they protest, and they do it on purpose. It's kind of like Walmart buys property that sits back behind the, I mean, they buy all this property, but they put their building back because the value is less there, and they sell all of this in front. Petroleum company knows what they're doing on this. But I'm just saying that there's going to be some issues next year, and I'm concerned about this board. It should be fair for this county, and if we've got one on there that's an attorney for petroleum companies, I think there's a conflict of interest, could be. One of them actually had this company's lines going through his property, and I request that Lowe check into that as well. I guess I can call him, but I just wanted to make mention in front of everybody here.
So really, you can't do your job until the state gives you what you need.
I can't finish it.
We brought this up before. I mean, they can't punish us if the tax commission ain't doing their part.
Well, and the tax commission has been known, in my opinion, not to do their job correctly, because the previous assessor here was here 20 years. And when I came into this office over there and discovered how out of balance and everything was so messed up, I asked them, how did you allow this to happen all this time? Their answer was basically their way of testing, which is no longer this way, all the assessor had to do was flip on a light switch and she passed. Well, that's why we're in a big mess throughout this state, but Logan County was really in a big mess. And so, in my opinion, OTC's been behind all along, and I call them out on it all the time. And just like this, what we're talking about here, all the assessors have to wait till they get that information. So we're all across the state being held back.
My request is that we get a legal opinion on how to proceed if and when these things happen, when that happens from OTC, where it delays our ability to meet that 15 August deadline. Doesn't seem to have done that this year because it seems we've got it before in time to do that. But
Well, I don't mind the legal opinion, but, I mean, I think everybody in the game knows, but I think you're right, I think it ought to be black and white.
I want to have a piece of paper that says why we're not following the law.
I think that's
From an
why-
authoritative source. That's my point, sir.
I think that's why the state auditor ain't ever wrote us up on it, because they know that you can't do it. It can't be done.
I can't assume why a state auditor does or doesn't do anything.
I think that the state legislators need to address this particular issue because obviously their bureaucracies are not able to keep in compliance with their statutes.
So I so move we,
Not an unusual thing, actually.
that we do ask our district attorney for legal opinion and guidance in this matter.
So are you gonna submit a question to Cindy?
Yes,
You're gonna write up the questions?
yes,
Are you gonna bring them back to the board?
of course. How else would we agree if that's what we wanted to do?
Does that need action?
I believe it does.
So, just so I'm clear, Marvin, your motion would be that you will create the questions, the specific questions for the ADA to answer and bring them back to the board before submitting
The
them?
specific questions, they're not going to be specific, all right? And so, again, my recommendation is that we follow the county budget laws unless we have written guidance from our district attorney to the contrary.
Can you do that?
Ask him,
No.
No,
Can
you gotta
follow the
do
laws?
it.
can I
You gotta
follow?
give us a,
Without the information, I cannot. I mean, I can give you what I
No.
have, at that time. I can print out a report, but it doesn't mean that report's right.
Right. However, at the beginning of the budget cycle, we can follow the law, with estimates. An estimate is just an estimate, right?
Right, this year I probably could have done a pretty good chance, but
Don't-
next year I'm saying
Right.
it's gonna change a lot.
But we're talking about the end of the year now, with the end of the budget cycle, of getting OTC's information back, right? That's the part that you're having a stumbling block with, right?
Well, I have two parts.
Okay.
OTC's, what they get to me for public service has been late,
Right.
and I can't do anything about that. The other is the protest period for petroleum companies. Next year, every one of them gonna be protesting.
How does that affect the estimate?
A lot. There's millions of dollars involved.
Yeah, I understand. So, how do we, so then we need an opinion on how we proceed in that light, right? Just to say we've got protests and so we can't do our job because we've got protests and we can't give an estimate. I'm not sure that's a good answer.
I could talk to Lowell, because he kind of understands what I'm going through here, and let him know what's happening, and he can explain it to me better to where I can present it to you, and he can
So
also answer.
my question then is, do we have enough information to provide an estimate that will allow the excise board to have a planning conference that would provide an estimate of salaries that could be available for the next year?
So your question to me is, would I have a value good enough at that time for you all to judge whether or not these estimate and needs can be handled?
Right. No, it's an
No?
estimate of revenue. It's an estimate of revenue, not
I can
not
absolutely
an
do it.
absolute, this is the revenue that we can expect, right? It's an estimate of revenue.
I can give you one, but it's also going to state, and this unknown what's going to happen with these petroleum.
Absolutely, and so as those become evident as you work through those protests, then that information could be updated, right?
Except that is at the very end.
Right.
So it'll be about the same timeline you get it
So,
this year.
so it's at the end, so then at around this time frame, when OTC provides our ad valorem back for other utilities, then that is also settled at that time, and then the estimate becomes, this is what we really expect, this is our budget for
Yes,
next year.
yes.
Okay. I think, in my mind, that we should be able to follow the law up until the time our real budget figures are needed.
Oh, I can present you with an estimate.
Well, it's not for me.
I mean, whatever you're in need of. Because we keep up to date in there.
Right, I know you do, and I appreciate that. Okay.
You're just saying that it could be plus or minus several $1 million. Yeah, so would you be able to give us an estimate that would have the low point and the high point, do you think?
Well, I can give you the high point, which would be in this year's, you know. But as far as what's going to happen, I mean, I've been listening, and I'll know more this week. I go to Tulsa for conference this week, so all that's going to be discussed. And the people that handle these petroleum companies will be there, which is Task, who I will go and personally talk to, and they may be able to give me a better estimate. And that's what we could work through, if he can give me an idea of what he's looking at. Because he's the one that told me that things are really going to change. But also, we have a lot of leasing coming in now for the solar energy, which is going to make up a difference. So, I mean, I can do my best. I'll do anything you need. I'll let you have what I have at that time.
Right. But it's gonna be way off.
Unless there's a miracle that I don't know about. You know?
Yeah.
It'll be, so what you're saying is you can give us a range, right?
Yeah.
If all of the protests.
Well, I'll give you a range.
Yeah, so if all of the protests are approved, we're gonna have less money to work with. If all the protests are disapproved, we'll have more money to work with, the same, right? And so that would be the range, and that seems reasonable to me, right? That seems very reasonable to me, and that seems to be what we should be doing as we're planning our budgets for the next year.
Well, that's true. And here's another point in what you're saying is, this one protest we had this year, the board went with what I had, but they're taking it to district court, like I said, so things can change. You know, even when we think it's settled, it's really not settled. So yeah, I can give you a range, and I'll be happy to.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I gotta go. Sorry.
And so yes, I'll take action to develop the actual verbiage for the request for review from our Attorney General, or not the Attorney General, our District Attorney for this issue.
Well, the county assessor just sat there and said that she can do it, so why do we need to ask a little anything? If she can do it, I mean, how come we can't follow the cycle?
I'm with you on that one, sir.
Well, I mean, I guess we should ask her how come she hadn't been doing it in the past.
Well, because she hadn't been asked in the past.
Well, we shouldn't have to ask her, it's her job.
Well, I think, yeah,
So, I mean, what is it you want to ask the district attorney?
well, so maybe we don't need to ask the district attorney. So why did the excise board not have a meeting to discuss this earlier?
I don't sell them
First
at
of all,
board.
I don't either. So why did they not have a meeting with the county officers to
And I
discuss?
certainly don't want to drag him in here.
No.
The excise board met with county officers on
Ma'am,
June the
this-
22nd
Yeah. To do what?
to go over their request, their estimate and needs, as is required. They met with them June the 22nd,
To go over their requirements for salaries for
which is
employees.
included in their estimate and needs, yes.
That's the only reason that meeting is supposed to take place. There's nothing else in there that they are supposed to review or approve.
All I'm saying is that the excise board
The
did
reason
meet.
for that meeting, and what I understand from the statutes, is that the excise board has a discussion with the county officer Period.
been what went over.
Period.
They did meet.
And so did the sheriff present his additional request for salaries to the excise board at that time?
It was included in his estimate of needs, so yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna go back and ask another question then. The sheriff said that he wasn't required, that wasn't a statutory requirement. He said that to our board. He told our board that that wasn't a statutory
I
requirement.
believe what he was referring to when he said that is that providing security to this building is not statutory requirement.
Right, and so the request for additional funds was to provide security for this building. So if it's not a statutory requirement, then it's outside the estimate, it's outside of what's required by statute, so I don't see where we
Well,
should approve it.
we the board asked him to provide security for this building. So he added it to his estimate of needs, is what he's gonna need to do that. Although it's not required to provide security for this building, he was gonna add it to his estimate of needs so he could.
Right, and we can approve that
So,
if funds are available to do, I mean, I'm with you on that, but we can't have it both ways, is what I'm saying.
Well, we, the Board of County Commissioners, asked the sheriff to provide security for this building. He added it to his estimate of needs, and it seems like to me, now we're trying to beat him over the head for adding it to his estimate of needs.
I wasn't.
That's how it appears to me.
I wasn't trying to beat the sheriff up, I was just using that as an example.
I mean, when we asked him to do it, now we're asking why he done it. I mean, because we asked him to do it. We'd like
But
to
the
have-
statute says that those salaries are for constitutional and statutory requirements. And if the sheriff says, or any county officer says, well, that's not required by statute or the Constitution, then it's not a hard requirement that we fund that. I'm not saying we can't fund that, I'm just saying it's not a hard requirement that we fund it. We have the option to not fund that as a Board of Commissioners. That is one of the options that we have available to us. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, in your opinion, who has the final say on the budget? Is it gonna be the Board of Commissioners, or is it gonna be the Excise Board?
The Board of Commissioners request appropriations. The Excise Board approves those appropriations.
Okay. So what are we gonna do if they approve it and you don't wanna approve it?
Doesn't matter, if they approve it. If our board submits that
Which we did.
we haven't yet.
Okay.
We haven't yet. We haven't had that meeting yet.
Okay.
But if we submit it to the Excise Board and they approve it, then it's done within the law, I believe. From my understanding.
But if you would like to draft up some questions and send to the district attorney, I'm all behind it. I don't know that we need an action on it, but if you'd feel better making an action on it, I'm okay with that too.
Well, I just don't want it to get lost.
Well, so, what's your motion?
Again, would be to, that we formally ask the district attorney to provide written opinion and guidance on where we stand by not following the county budget laws, where we're able to do so. And where I'm talking about where we're able to do so is mostly in the first part of the budget cycle. And where we're not able to do so, where OTC delays getting us our tax estimates back. I think our county, I think our board needs a written document that says this is okay, or this isn't okay, or this is how you should proceed. But I will put some more detail, I will put some more detail to that and bring it back to the board.
We're gonna have, is this board having a special meeting?
On the 8th.
Can we have it ready by the 8th?
Yes, sir. Will do.
you're right.
Right, but the detail will be within the scope of what we've discussed today. So I think, you know, that in general or in concept, we can agree on that today, right?
Okay.
Okay, so is his motion gonna be seconded?
I'll second that he's gonna draft up some stuff and have it on.
He's gonna draft it to bring back to the board.
Is that?
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we all wanna follow the law the best we can.
I agree.
But I think we have been, in my opinion.
I think you're right. I think we've been following it the best we can. I just don't think that we had that get out of jail free card in a park. If somebody shows up and says, why are you guys not following the law?
Well, it's because
That would be the purview of the district
Attorney's office. We, call vote, please.
Aye.
All, okay, motion passes.
How do you vote?
I'll vote aye.
Cynthia?
Item 5, consideration possible action on approving fiscal year 15-16 CFA report.
Troy has a CFA report this year that I compiled. I worked with Sherry in the treasurer's office, you guys, the commissioners that receive funds, and with Troy, and to the best of my ability, that's the money for this year's CFA report that the county received.
David, on my FEMA money that I've received, they called in a locate so we could finish the last project. They called locate in on the wrong spot, so it'll probably be the later part of this week, and it will be 100% besides the bridge. We opened bids on it and waiting on the contractor to build it. So.
I just went to the auditor's office once every year.
Right.
I'm just the middleman in this whole process, so. But like I said, working with Troy and Sherry and you guys to the best of my ability, that's right that I'm aware of.
Do we need a motion to accept David's report, the CFA report?
Yeah, just let Martin read over it, see if you had any questions.
Okay.
Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, Cynthia, bring a opener, stay here. After we get it.
What does this statement at the bottom mean, that the FEMA expenditures can only come from the barns of each district?
That's where the money that you guys would have received, like for your flooding on the 25,000 that you received, if you hadn't completed your projects that you were paid for. And so that's where I would need from you is so you received the $25,448. And let's say you hadn't completed all of your projects yet, then I would have needed that information from you as to how much you had left to spend for the next year's report. So if you had a $10,000 project that you hadn't done yet, then instead of spending the 25, you'd have just spent the 15 and you'd have had the
Oh, okay, so
carryover.
the information's supposed to come from the road district?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
barn part threw me.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, yeah. So, and you mentioned you had all the money you received from the flooding, all your projects were done, so that's where that comes from.
Right, no questions, thank you.
I move that we approve.
Second.
Oh, we need to sign this.
Mike
Just,
does.
the form is just mine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Just anywhere on here?
There's a line with your
Hey,
name.
David, thanks for
Got
the
it.
work on that.
Thank you. All right. Item 6, open sealed bid 2017-6 for sale of bridges in District 2 in consideration possible action on awarding said bid. We have 2 bids.
Where's the bridge?
This one right here is the one over there, what we call Monument Bridge, and that is on, what would that be? County Road 73, I believe, no? 74. 74 between Indian Meridian and Keeley. It's been closed for a number of years now. They had issues on an approach and the concrete underneath it, and it's just a pony truss bridge that had about a 3-ton limit on it and has been closed. So what this will do is allow this historic bridge to be moved to a different site and be out of our way for a new bridge to go in there when we have that opportunity to get that bridge built.
Where will it go to?
This is on that bridge number 1. Is that bridge number 1? Let's see, the 1, 2, 3 in here.
I think what
1,
he's
2, I'm
asking
sorry.
is,
If it, yeah, just where will the old historical one be moved to?
that's what this is a sale to anyone who wanted to offer to purchase
yes.
them.
Gotcha.
And he's going to be moving that on private land
Okay.
for a creek that he would like to have a rustic old bridge on.
Good
I
for
still
him.
think it'd be cheaper to just build a new one, but whatever.
I
Just,
got a question on this here. I mean, we have the sale of 2 bridges. Right here, they got bridge number 1 prices, drew a line, bridge number 2, $1,000.
we advertised it as accepting bids for the purchase of one or both.
Okay.
So they could buy one or both. And let me, just so I can clarify, bridge number 1 is on CR 74 west of Triple X Road. It's a 48-foot pony truss span. Bridge number 2 is on Henny Road, a quarter-mile north of Prairie Grove, 150-foot pony truss. This was one or both option to bid.
My question, bridge number 1, he put a line. Why
No bid.
No bid.
No bid.
Bridge number 2, he put $1,000. Total price for both, he put $1,000. Is he bidding on both bridges, or is he bidding on one
He's
bridge?
bidding on one bridge.
So you can sell this one for $1,000 and that one, if it's 2 separate bridges. What bridge? I mean,
He
bid on
put
both.
325 on bridge number 1 and 125 on bridge number 2.
So this guy gets 1, this guy gets 2, I'm assuming.
Well, this guy gets, can we not award one of the bridges to this one
That's what I just said.
and then one to the other? So, bridge number 1 is $325.50.
Or you could choose to reject if you wanted to.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a fair amount.
I think it's totally fair.
I'd like to get rid of it.
No doubt. I've been trying to get rid of it for a while, honestly. And then on bridge number 2, that would be to, on bridge number 1, that would be to, this one's what is that, Matthews Services, Mitchell Madison Services LLC. So award this one $325.50.
Question?
And that's the one, that's Memorial, the Monument Bridge. They're just east of Langston. And then award bridge number 2, $1,000 to, how's he calling himself on here? Michael Faraday, private individual.
Is there a time frame that they're required to remove it? And buy? Okay, it's stated. Okay.
No,
When I
more than
sold
6
mine was
months.
60 days.
Okay.
6 months.
Okay.
And if they do not move it, it'll result in forfeiture of the ownership of the bridge to Logan County. No refund of payment will be given. So, get it or don't.
Right. Okay.
We'll sell it again if you don't.
Yep.
My understanding is, Commissioner Pearson's made a motion to award the bid received from Madison Services, Inc. for bridge number 1 for $325 and award the sale of bridge number 2 to Michael Friday in the amount of $1,000.
Since those are the highest and best offers, I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Good deal. Glad to get those out of my hair. Item 7, consideration of possible action on approving resolutions appointing receiving officers for various accounts.
I have none for 7. I have one on 8 that's fixing to walk in here in just a second.
So, a temporarily table item.
Reacquisitioning officers.
If you want to go to item 9 and we can hold
Okay.
item 8.
All right, well, put that on hold, go to item 9, consideration of possible action on the consent agenda.
Mike, this is for your, so I need you to sign here and then for the board on this transfer. Fiscal year to fiscal year transfers.
Yay. That's up here, right?
You can just put all.
Oh, okay.
All. And out. Oh. We had some for receiving. I thought it was just requisition.
So she's gonna be receiving Monday this,
Who's the second?
it's, floodplain and,
No, but who's the second?
she signed our best.
That's what I'm saying though. Who is supposed to be the
That goes
second
to
receiving
from, there's the
officer?
account number, but I don't know what it is.
Because we have to put these supersede, so it has to be the second person on there as well.
Okay. Let me ask her on that one.
So,
Okay.
you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
You got one account there, it doesn't say who it is. At 40, what was that, 43,000?
What does it say?
Who's 2240?
90.
Oh, 90. 6130.
6130-2290? Monty, that's you.
Well, I don't have the dang number, remember?
Well,
it just.
Troy does, though.
I knew she'd know.
And the sad part is the state's gonna change the number.
No.
I was in a 5-hour meeting with the new
Why would they do
charger.
that?
They're gonna try to get us, the entire state on the same numbering. It's gonna
Oh, they're
be,
not on the same numbering system.
it's going to be, a challenge. Yeah. It's gonna, they figure it'll take it minimum a year if
You
not
got
two.
6130 is you, 6120 is Mike, 6110 is me.
Correct.
Just a guess.
So I could've guessed that because I had your name written up on top.
oh,
Mine didn't have a name.
I was trying to cheat them.
and put District 2 on there.
Seems small.
Just to clarify, this is money left in prior fiscal years that we're
Okay.
now moving.
All right, thank you. Makes sense.
So that for highways funds, since that was going to.
It'll go back into the accounts here. It's just moving from one fiscal year to the other. As POs are cleared out, there's nothing left open, we'll move the balances.
Danny, you ain't heard nothing on the audit, have you, Jill?
I actually wrote Robin a letter on Friday and asked her if she could follow up where that's at, because
I got a feeling that nobody took action on it, and so,
I was under the impression they was working on it, but
yeah, I was under the impression too, but when we didn't hear anything like that, I don't wanna assume my impression was right, so.
I don't know what you mean.
Cash funds.
Well, that 25 cents a copy sure adds up, doesn't it?
That's a special one-time only. That is where I had to settle my lawsuit and sell him digital images.
Okay, that.
However, on land records, we get $1, not a quarter, for paper copies. I did not get that for digital copies.
Sir?
We should delay our meeting tomorrow? Is that what you're saying?
Is that a
absolutely-
second?
Absolutely not.
You need to sign this one here and here.
And I did speak out of turn. We have a meeting tomorrow. Whether we sign those or not is up to the board, not me.
Very good. That's very well stated. Thank you, sir.
Well, now you'll have to do that, but we'll wait to go back to that item. I just needed those on all of those.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, yours is in there, I'm assuming that's okay.
Okay, stop, let's do these blankets, but I need to explain on these blankets. District 2 had an error out, and it left us unable to do these blankets that first went through on Friday, so we had to pull them back out. That's why you've already signed them. We've had them redated, pulled them back out, and dated them to reapprove for the 1st for today. That's why we did that transfer earlier. So I'm gonna send them back down. Y'all can re-sign them or initial next to, however you want to handle, but we need these to go through today rather than Friday.
You want these? So what, we just had a wrong date on them? Let's see.
We had to move some money around to be able to encumber those.
That's right.
Guess I should've wrote my name on these, I figured out what it was.
So I'm gonna initial next to my initials.
If you don't mind.
Sign your signature.
It was just the best way I could think to do it.
So sign next to my initials.
Reinitialize.
And that will conclude consent.
Okay. So we have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
Here's a second. All those in favor? Aye. Go ahead.
9.
Yeah, except, and this, I'm gonna leave it to you, there is an item for 7 for receiving officers. I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
realize
we
till
need to
she
go
just
back
brought
to
them in.
Item 7.
With Cynthia's leaving, this is to get reappointed all the requisitioning and receiving officers on the accounts that she's attached to. So that's what we're trying to do. I didn't realize there was a receiving on the civil defense accounts. She's the receiving officer, so we need to make that change.
Okay. So I sign here.
You'll sign as the department, yeah, there, and then if, as the board, yeah. Okay, that's it for the
I'll
receiving.
make the motion we approve the receiving officer.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Now we're on to item 10. Any-
8.
8. We skipped that. Oh, that was item 8.
We did 7.
We just
need to
did
do
7, now we do
Okay,
8.
so now we need item 8, considering possible resolutions appointing requisition officers. Okay. Awesome. This is just putting Sarah in there.
Yes.
That's that road you inherited too. Right?
Well,
It goes into Logan.
Not just yet. There's still a little hope I won't.
ODOT hasn't said you gotta take it yet.
Well, we actually signed an agreement that if they would repave that 3 miles and build a bridge, that, we can repave that we would take maintenance. They're gonna force it on us anyways, but it's gonna get something out of it.
Until they rebuild the bridge.
That's right.
We're not on the hook.
That's it. I'll move that we approve.
So,
All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Any citizen desiring to be heard?
I would like to, if that's all right. I want to thank you guys for letting me see not one, but 2 bridges sold. I always heard about the Brooklyn Bridge, and now I know how bridges get sold. Very interesting. But Marvin, if I could, I, as an excise board member, if you could forward the notes that you pass out with that information to the excise board, and then as you guys get information, I don't know how to make it, thank you. I don't know how to make it, official. I think just if you can communicate, obviously it affects the excise board. Anything that you hear from the ADA, we would appreciate the excise board being told the same thing, because of CYA for you, it's good for us too. So.
actually, I would welcome input from the excise board on
Okay.
those questions going back
Okay.
as well.
We meet tomorrow. If there's any chance, if you could give us your outline of what the questions you want to submit on the 8th, if we could.
It's not an agenda.
It's not on the agenda. Yeah. Well. Okay. But the other thing is that you made it very clear that that was only involving salaries. So what do we do about M&O and all the rest?
So what I made clear was that the statute only specifically addresses salaries, right? It doesn't address M&O at all in the statutes, right? Other than to say that they need adequate funding to support the constitutional and statutory requirements of the office. And that's all it says. My whole point in this isn't to try and submarine any one particular officer's budget. My point here is to make sure that we understand, because I think it's been misstated that the Board of Commissioners doesn't have the authority to change a county officer's request estimate of needs if we consider it to be excessive, or if we consider it to be insufficient. I believe that the County Board of Commissioners has that right, authority, and duty to review and do those things, and then submit that as an appropriation request, a county-wide appropriation request to the Excise Board for their review, consideration, and hopefully ultimately approval.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Item 11, comments, announcements, questions by the Board of County Commissioners.
Saw mine up great.
The only thing I have is we're finally moving on acquiring right of way on the Lutheran project. Got that all signed and sealed. It's going to town. Not hearing anything else.
I got just one thing.
I'm sorry.
No worries. On the CED5 meeting that I set in for you, Mike, after that meeting, during that meeting, I think I've already told you, the board, that there was a request for office space, or to move over to where ACOG is moving to get Carroll office space over there. And it's a whole $75 a month cheaper than what we're paying now. As I let those folks know that we being our trust board, has offered to provide office space for free. First of all, they want to see pictures. And then I was contacted by one of those board members saying that we probably should look at putting together a lease agreement to offer as well at the next CED meeting. And that lease agreement should probably be for some dollar amount. $1 would be sufficient. And then also to provide pictures of the office space and that sort of stuff. And that way it would get its due consideration alongside with all of the other proposals that seem to be going on to continue to spend our money on places we don't think it ought to be spent. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
Just to let y'all know what Morgan's talking about, the counties, we belong to CED districts, certain engineering districts.
Yeah.
And currently, we have a CED manager in the city, and we pay $650 a month for rent for her a little office space down there. And our meetings are down in the basement in a little dungeon, half the lights don't work. And so we propose that we save a little money and we provide a little office space over here in the, what do we call this building? Over by the election board.
We call it money pit.
Yeah, we could let her sit in there for nothing and save $650 a month. But I'm sure that would be a stupid idea. They won't want to do it.
Right.
But we're gonna make them say it's a stupid idea.
We're gonna offer it anyway.
But the idea of having that contract's good, because then you proposed it and said, this is what you want to do.
Right. Just another branch of government that's eating up our tax dollars.
Thank you for keeping your eye open for those little critters. Stomp them out.
It's only about $7,000 a year out of our. And when it gets down to our county, it's only $1,000 for our county, our county's piece. And I say only, if you say that really fast, it doesn't sound like a lot. But if you're writing a check personally, it is a lot. That's all it is.
Well, if I may, that building is owned by Oklahoma County. And this is the one that Langston University is moving out of. And so ACOG is moving into. And though it would cost more, that's true, than here, they're also looking at the advantages that would give CD5 and being located right there where ACOG also is located. So, we'll see.
What was the advantage?
Yeah.
The advantage is that you would be able to have a one-on-one, I would assume. That's, I don't remember that they really said the advantage, but it might be a good thing that if Carol or whoever our manager might be, would be right there close to the department heads that can be utilized by the CD5. So there's a large meeting room, conference room that's more than adequate for the needs, and there's that. But we'll see what entails what the board for CD5 decides. But yes, I think we should offer this building here for those offices that we have not been able to rent at this time.
When we was having them discussions down there, when we was going over the budget, that was one thing that was brought up, is that's a fee that we could cut off and save the CED a little money. Not big money, but some money.
Sure.
And we was going to use ACO's
Conference room, yes.
to have the meetings.
I realize
This would
that.
just be an office for Carol. It ain't like we're going to conduct meetings there.
Oh, I agree.
I know the other board members was concerned about driving all the way to Logan County, but our meetings will still be down there,
Correct.
centrally located, so.
I don't have a problem.
I think
with
the
that.
chairman would be okay with driving to Logan County.
Yeah,
He's over in Payne County.
I'll save him a few miles. I don't know about the
But
guys
I
down
don't
the
have an
stretch.
issue with it. One way or the other, it
I
doesn't make
did.
a difference, but I just didn't want to interject that was what was said during the meeting.
I had a deal for number 12, it's a motion.
All right.
I second.
And all in favor?
Aye.